uptake in these programs and the seriousness with which employees and management and leaders take these programs. So I think culture is really foundational to looking at how companies work on these issues. I just want to pick up on something you said, Andy. You used Prius as an example, and I think it's a great example. I use it in some of the, I actually have a Prius slide in my PowerPoint presentation I use. There was an interview in the New York Times a number of years ago by the then president of Nissan USA, and he made the statement that Nissan did not introduce the Prius to save the environment. Nissan introduced the Prius to sell cars. And it's a great example. And I drive a Prius. My partner drives a Prius, so I love Prius. I love Nissan. But I think it's a great example of how you can have a win-win in this business. They knew they could sell more cars by introducing a fuel-efficient car, and at the same time, they're viewed as a good corporate citizen because they're reducing the environmental impact of fossil fuels.
Well, I think that there's so much that we thought years ago that it had to be one or the other, right? Either it's going to be either we're just doing this to make money or we're just doing this because it's soft and fuzzy and it feels good. And I think what organizations who've done this for so long, they're bringing it together. And I think that's now what, and we talked about it earlier, it doesn't matter what you call it, citizenship, CSR, corporate responsibility, sustainability. They're saying if we can actually bring all these parts and some, you had diversity in one place and giving in another place and environmental sustainability in another place, and you have companies now that are bringing them together and saying if we can align those with how we drive our business, then you can have both sides of this. You can have the people side and you can have the profit side and you can have the brand side. I mean, we really make sure at PwC that everything that we do within corporate responsibility aligns to either our brand, or it drives employee engagement, or it drives operational efficiencies. And if it does not do all three of those things, we shouldn't be doing it, because that's how our firm is run. So that's how our group has to be run. And if you don't hit on all those cylinders, you're missing something. And I think organizations now are looking to see how do you really look at all those different angles so it can be a win-win, so you can get your employees engaged, but they're engaged because ultimately they're actually going to be driving your brand and ultimately going to be driving your profits. And so I think that's the combination that everyone's looking for.
I think it's also important to realize and understand that one size does not fit all. You know, there is not an off-the-shelf CSR or citizenship program that I can take off the shelf and use at Microsoft. We have a different business.
Right.
We're in
Absolutely.
the IT sector. The issues that we work on need to be relevant to our business, and how we can make a difference in the world has to do with the use of technology, empowering young people, and that sort of, those probably are not the same issues you would work on at PwC.
No, and I mean, we have
work
to,
on at Starbucks.
you know, when you're looking at your people being your main business, we don't make anything. So for us, it's not about making a car or making a different kind of good. It's our people. They're the ones who are delivering our service. So they have to be an essential part in every single part of corporate responsibility, because getting them to actually take the action is what's going to make us better, not us just creating all these engineered solutions that we're going to pump money in so that we can make the lights go off or make the water turn off. If our employees do without us having to invest in that, then they're bought in, and then they're more engaged, and then, as you said, that leads to higher quality work, higher quality deliverables, better client service, more satisfaction, higher retention.
Let me ask a pointed question if I can. We did a piece about CSR, I want to say 10 years ago or so, in The Economist. We had a simple 4-part matrix where there are things that will make money and lose money, and there are things that are good for the world and bad for the world. So logically, 4 possibilities. Things that are good for the world and make money, every company should be doing, and it's just called good business, i.e. treating your employees well, for example. There are things that are bad for the business and many losers. Nobody should be doing those things. Hopefully, very few companies do. Where it maybe gets a little complicated is those things that might lose you money but are unquestionably good for the world. Are there any practices that are in that bucket that we're still, that you just know that it's a money loser short and medium term, but that all companies should be nonetheless undertaking?
Yes, it's called philanthropy.
Right.
I mean, when companies give away money, whether it's through their employees or through their foundations, that's giving away money. For me, the idea of sustainability is figuring out ways to make money by doing the right thing. So I think that that's a little bit different than a long-term, short-term perspective. Okay. The hard question is, you know, how to get corporate managers to think in the long term, to think about, you know, that 8 or 10-year change cycle.
So far down the road.
But if there's no payoff, if it's just losing, if it's just doing good, there's plenty of room for that. It's appropriate. Let's just call it philanthropy.
And separate
it's
it
not
mentally from the other things
right.
that you do.
Right.
And
so when Dan talks about $1 billion in giving, I don't see that as part of sustainability.
Right.
I see it as part of Microsoft's, reputation and something that's very important. But it's giving away money as opposed to figuring out ways to make employees more productive or to get them more engaged. And ultimately, because what we're really talking about here is harnessing the power of capitalism and the free market
right.
to solve the world's problems. And you can't do that by just, I worship Bill Gates. And the fact that he's given away so much of his own personal wealth, I hold him up to my children every day. But no amount of philanthropy is going to solve the problems we have.
And
and I don't want you or any of our viewers to think that our corporate citizenship program is just about philanthropy.
Right.
It's not. It's one of one side of a
And I didn't mean to imply
no,
that.
I understand that, of a two-sided coin. I guess I would take a little bit exception. I think corporations have a responsibility to support communities in which they live and work. And yes, under following this discussion, I guess it is sort of losing money, if you will, to give away $900 million. But so be it. That's our responsibility, to engage with and support our employees through our matching gift program and to support NGOs through our software donation program.
I think you're great for doing it. I'm just saying it's not a sustainable business model.
And that's what we said.
I think that is. I think that is a sustainable business model because I think that, and it depends, because I think some people, and the use of philanthropy, I think in CSR is a very interesting word anyway.
It is.
And it has a lot of tainted meanings to it. And some people look at philanthropy as if it's not connected at all. And so we're just going to throw money. There's no strategic priority. Somebody asks for a $500 check, we're going to give it to them. I think a lot of corporations now are really focused on how can that $900 million or how can what we give away be a strategic part of our business. So if our strategic part of our business is actually ensuring that there's a future talent pool that's out there that can come to work for business, then putting $160 million in
which
that
is exactly
is
what we're doing.
philanthropy,
So
right? And that's exactly what you're
Let's
doing.
call it strategic philanthropy.
There you go.
Okay.
Now I'm happy.
Okay, let's call it strategic. But a lot of companies...
But there's a pure form of philanthropy where you expect no return whatsoever, but it's just the right thing to do. I think we all agree that that's a good thing to
Disaster
do. I think
relief,
Andy
for
and I
example.
would agree, as we put in the Economist, that's not core to the business. The business's job is to make money for the business. So anything that will achieve that objective is business. Everything else might be considered separate as not strategic philanthropy, but just old school philanthropy. It's something that owners of the business have a right to do as shareholders, as executives, and so forth. But maybe we can distinguish that mentally, and everybody can make that division.
I think that's an important point.
Let's go now to a poll that we're going to ask our viewers online. We're asking you, if your company has implemented CSR, how long did it take to start seeing an impact on the bottom line? The options are A, immediately, B, a couple of fiscal years, C, several years, I take it more than a couple, more than two, and D, we have not yet seen an impact.